I didn't actually have to reset the computer. I was looking in Blender at some of the textures. There's different textures in Blender Kit for lava. I was just trying to kind of get some ideas, like, but looking at the video from Car versus of his lava, I'd probably be better off to just try to make the particle first, like make the graphic for it, and just start with like something like 512 by 512. Give it an alpha background, delete the background, and then uh, we'll just make something kind of look like, let's see, just for the time being, I'll add another background just to so it's easier to see, because this will be kind of a light color. And it's easier to have a background that's dark if you're working with something light over alpha. Uh, so like it might take me a bit to really kind of come up with something. I'm trying to kind of make something look like it's kind of like something that's being pulled and tugged on, and you know, pulled and tugged on. But you know what I mean, like taffy, like like something that just splattered, but it's got like the consistency of like house paint, where it's kind of still stuck together, but it's kind of like a you know. Hi there, how you doing? All right, all right. Let's see here. I could I can understand this is boring to some folks. It's you know what? I didn't really think much about this here. Let's see here. Zoom. This may not look good at all. Well, we'll see. You know. All right. All right. So the particle folder. All right. Normally, where that's at, it's in the game install folder in content, uh, art shapes. There's a zip file. If you open that up, there's an art folder, a shapes folder, and a particles folder. That particles folder is what contains all the graphics for the particles. It also contains the emitter and the managed particle data. The particle comes out of the emitter. The emitter is like the water hose, and the particle is like the water that comes out of the hose. And like you can turn the water on, have it come out fast or slow. Well, the emitter does stuff like the emitter has its own settings, and the particles have their own settings. Particles are more or less the different colors. The particle, its gravity, its velocity, inherited velocity, if it can bloom out like a bloom or not. So that's all with the particle. The emitter has to do with like how many times the particle fires. Uh, but anyway, so take this folder and copy it to your clipboard, and then go to the user folder. If you want to edit particles, go to the user folder, and if there's not already one, make an art folder, and if there's not already a shapes folder, make a shapes folder, and then that's where you're going to paste the particles. That'll put them in a place that you can edit them and save them, and be able to later pack them as your mod, or if you want to share the particles with other people. Uh, that's for like this little puff of fire here is the one that I used just a few minutes ago. I made this with I rendered that particle in combustion, which is a different program, but it's just basically a picture. That's all it is. It's just a photo. Now to make the particles, start editing them, you can load like small grid and get started with small grid. That's quick to load, and it's easy. Yeah, I ain't gonna be able to explain that. That's not something I can explain now. I'm just gonna focus on the particle stuff. That's something I need to get around to explaining though, because a lot of people's asked about it. All right, so normally water, you can make water invisible. You don't have to see the water. It's easy to hide it. Say the water is shooting up like I don't know, 45 flow magnitude physics, or something like that, and you drive through it. Uh, oh, I didn't realize I was already inside of it. I thought I had a little bit to go before I got there. Depending on which way you got your river set, you may have it the other way around. If you got it backwards and just put negative values. Now, that particle does not look like a lava geyser. This is the one I was messing with earlier. So to start editing a particle, well, there's three different ones that handle water. You got the one that just affects the water around the wheels, and then you got two different splash. But no, I will explain that. I'm assuming you just want like one of those cars like the other people got that just got one of them heads from one of the other characters on it. Now I don't really have an artistic style for doing that kind of stuff. It's not something I could do better than they could do. And in fact, I probably wouldn't even use an Iron Man head or something like that. I'd just use a box for an example, something simple that you know, because you can get any kind of mod. I mean, I'm sorry, you can get any kind of model basically from Sketchfab. But getting that onto Beam, on a car, the easier way to do that would be not to fool with the physics part of it and just attach it to the existing body so that it's just a graphic on there. It's not something that's actually going to have physics. That'd be your easiest route. But yeah, I'll see what I can do. Actually, you know what? Um, I'm pretty sure my friend's already made a video on that because he stuck stuff on a car before, and might even be Iron Man, I don't know, let me see. What's that? I know he's done a few videos. I don't know if he's put any on car. You know, I would say, go to his tutorial on how to import like stuff from Sketchfab. If you see an FBX format, that's stuff from Sketchfab. I would say first get get an understanding of how to get the model in the game before trying to put it on the car. If you can get to that part where you can get it into the game, go by his tutorial, do that. I can, if he doesn't already have it in here, I can probably make something about how to attach it once you got it. Let's see here. I know he attached something to one of them cars. Oh, what was it? I don't know if he actually explained it in here though. Oh, but yeah, as far as you getting your Iron Man stuff, do one of his tutorials of see if you can get the model into Beam. If you can get the model into Beam using one of his tutorials, I'll do the other part of it. Get it on the car. But you gotta have some kind of basic idea how to at least do that. And personally, I don't want to fool with the copyright material stuff like Marvel, but um, I'll do one every now and then. But I don't want to make a habit out of it, because there's like so many different characters, and like Marvel owns like all of them, it seems. But like stuff like Thomas the Train, I know, because stuff like that, they don't care about that, but uh, they tend to frown on it when you monetize it. Or maybe that's the key, you just don't monetize it and they don't care. They basically just don't want you making money off their stuff, is the way I understand it. If you're making money and it's their product, then they get upset. Um, oh, yeah, real quick, now I'm going to get back to them particles. There is a tutorial about height maps that has been here all along in BeamNG's website. And it's from one of the developers made the tutorial. It is on height maps. I was just looking at it. Now, if I can find what I was looking at yesterday. Probably not. I don't remember where I saw it. Golly, I can't even remember the dude's name now. Let me think, where did I see that? I'll know it when I see it. No, I know how to get height maps in Beam. This is just a guy. This guy is one of the developers. He did. He made like the he makes like the regular developer maps, and then it was a different technique that he used that I don't use. Here it is. This is it. Yeah. So he uses a different technique, and the calculations he uses for like the way that the grayscales are figured is not something I've done before. Not this way anyway. This is using a render node setup, and I tried to mimic what he did, and the problem was this particular thing in here. I have render layers, but I don't have one that's got a Z on it, so I don't know how he did that. Not this way. I don't know how he did it, but I believe if you go through and look at how he did his, as far as explaining the stuff, he even explains roads in here, how to make the roads for your height map, so that you can have a height map, make your roads in Blender, and render the height map with those roads, and it all work out. And he's got a note for Photoshop people or for GIMP people. But yeah, this is something I'd love to be able to look at it, figure it out, and no, that's LJF Hutch. Yeah, and looking at this is this is from 2015, and this is quite an old Blender here. Let's say it says Blender. I don't even know what version. That's an old ass Blender. And they changed a lot of stuff where they took stuff and moved stuff in different places. And now while I'm learning Blender, I don't know everything about Blender. So just like that one little thing as far as that, oh, I don't share the damn link. Which one was it? I just did click on it. Oh. Damn it. I ain't idiot. Which one did I damn look at? Oh man. I don't remember the guy's name. He ain't got a name that it ain't a name that just rolls off your tongue. You can't really remember what it is when you just glance at it. I just glanced at it. I just had it on here. There it is. I'm trying to damn do. Trying to get to my channel. Alright. Yeah, so that's the link to that. Someone asked me a while back about it. Oh God, I can't stand to hear myself talk. Now, I made a tutorial on putting a. Yeah, I do have a tutorial on putting. I made a tutorial on putting. I think I made a tutorial. I know I gave it away. I gave away the mod, the Minecraft sword. That was basically. I don't know, unless in a parallel universe I made it. I didn't make it in this one. I was pretty sure I did. You know, it's bad when you see a video and you don't even realize it's your own video because you put so many damn videos on here you don't remember what you put. Like, I saw a video the other day, I say, hey, I bet that's a good video, and I realized it's my video. I said, I watch a lot of videos, and I watch a lot of other people's videos. After doing so many of these things, they all start to kind of look alike. Well, that's the sword. Oh, I remember what I called it. I remember now. I remember. Resize or scale. That'd be scale. Oh, it's a new J-beam editor. I think I just rescaled it. I think I just oh, hey, here's actually Havoc NG. It's actually Havoc NG, the real life Havoc NG, that I made a little like hologram of him driving the truck. Animated texture. Call it Hologram Scott. What was funny about this is it was such a little bitty picture, it wasn't scaled the right size. I took that from one of his videos of, he had a green screen video. Yeah, I damn got sidetracked like always. Yeah, hell yeah, I got sidetracked. I haven't even got to that damn particle yet. Yeah, let me get back to that. Because I get damn distracted easy and I'll get off topic, and before I know it, I damn forgot what I was even doing. So yeah, so the particles, so let's see, there's three different particles for water. There's 13, 15. Yeah, you can just watch it later, man. I'll just post it. It's probably about 3 a.m. over there. I'm usually in the bed about 4 o'clock a.m. usually, and sleep till about 11 a.m. slow the game down. Makes it a little easier to see what the particle's doing. So in the particle for number 15, for example, which is one of the ones that water interacts with a car. Number 15, BNGP15, is the emitter, and the particle, you know, just leave that. Don't mess with that, and don't mess with this part either, where you can add more particles to that particle. Don't do that. If you add another particle to that particle, it's just going to flicker really bad. Also, don't use the animate texture. The way I understand that, this does not actually work. It's not implemented in the game. It's if you click on it, it'll just lock up the game. Now, even though it's an animated texture name here, it's actually just the same thing as the texture name. It doesn't actually do anything. Not unless they updated it, but it didn't used to do anything. So, particle 15, the particles mist. You got different colors. So lava is usually like a yellow, and then it usually turns to an orange and into a red, and then well, ultimately it'll eventually turn into a black, but that's later on when it's cooled off. Oh, the lifespan is how long the particle will basically go before it restarts. For that particular geyser, since it was up in the air for a while before it started to come down and settle, oh yeah, also this fourth number is the alpha transparency. It's how visible it is. The problem with having the very last one visible is it's going to, if it's not, the size is not 0, when it stops, it's going to look like it's stopping because it's running out. If you want to make it longer, and you know, you could make it go on longer, but you either will want to make the last one transparent so that it fades out, or you'll want to make the last one 0 so that it shrinks out. Just depends on what you're doing, you know. I mean, there's so many different combinations of things you can do. It's like I said, it's like an art. Now, to make something shoot straight up, you'll want to change the theta minimum and theta maximum to 0, 0. That'll ensure that it's going straight up. So if you have an ejection velocity that's very great, it's going to shoot straight up like a geyser, right? But if you want it to shoot up like a geyser and then start to slowly come back down, you'll want to have the gravity coefficient greater than a less than number, or it's going to keep infinitely going up into the sky. So you would want to make this positive so that it does come back down eventually. But if you want it to shoot up really high, and you'll have to give that a minute to settle. If you want that to shoot up really high, then you'd have to give it a bigger velocity. Now it'll come back down. Now if it's not making it all the way down as far as you would like it to make it, then that's when you extend the lifetime. You may find the lifetime's too long at the distance that it's shooting up, and you want to shorten it. You can just shorten it. Now there's a variance to the lifetime, so if you have 2000 is the life length and you got 2000 variance, then anywhere between 0 and 2000 there'll be varying particle lives. So there's like a lot of different ones basically being born out of the emitter. Some live for 0.01 millisecond, and some live for up to 2 milliseconds. This is in milliseconds. So you can see this is kind of explosive, like it's kind of very random. You don't want it to be more consistent, and you would lower that a lot. And then of course you got constant acceleration. That's basically, it's got its own little jet engine basically attached to the particle, so it's constantly accelerating. And that can also go into the negative values as well. It just all depends on what kind of effect you're going for. Then you got inherited velocity, which you're not going to see that here as much. Inherited velocity is if something strikes it, basically, or whatever's influencing that particle to make it activate, it can inherit that velocity and kind of multiply it. The drag coefficient is basically like, well, think of Darth Vader putting his hand up in the damn sky and stopping that damn lava flow from getting too far in the air, right? See, he's got his hand up, Darth Vader's got his hand up right now, and he's using the force, so he uses the force, so he slows it down. You know, he can't quite stop it, but he slowed it down a bit. So that's what the drag does. Now the thing with the theta min and theta max is this is the direction that the particle will shoot. If it was 180 and 180, it would be shooting down. Granted, there's not a gravity modifier affecting it. If this is 180 and the other is 180, it's going straight down. So these are like the hour hand of a clock. Between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, just think of a little hand and a big hand, basically. The minimum, you can think of that as the little hand. And the max is like the big hand. Say the big hand's at 6 o'clock, the little hand's at 12 o'clock. That's what that's basically doing, even though you can't see it because the ground plane is there. Now I got the damn start over. Maybe I don't. Let's see. $13, $15. Why am I not seeing it now? Hey, this game, I tell you, does things that don't make any sense sometimes. If you know something's obviously not right, like your particle just disappeared for whatever reason. See, it won't even close now. It's just glitched. Particles can glitch out. Well, you know what? When I record things, I use my shadow play. I don't use the in-game video recorder because I don't like all that stuttering crap that it has. You know, I can always tell when someone uses that thing because the little parts, when they break, they just look like they're rubber banding everywhere, and I just think that's just tacky as shit. I wish they'd fix it or do something to improve it, but I don't ever use it. I don't like to use it just for that reason. Now, if I can't record because I'm doing this right now, but not record with my shadow play, but yeah, it'll record all that. Now, if the in-game recorder, I assume will record that. I wouldn't think it wouldn't for any reason. records it fine. How about that? But yeah, the recorder does record that. Let me get back to where I was at, where I had that, well, almost had the thing. See, there's my particle 15 that was just a minute ago gone. Yeah, don't ever mess with this here. You'll just end up screwing it up. It's just weird like that, how it just... Some things will just make it crash randomly and don't even make any sense. That's getting on my nerves right there now. Since that particle's attached to that, it's affecting that too. That's quite frustrating looking at that. Let's see here. Let's get this. Actually, this ain't using a node. I'm not talking about. This is just the particle here. It's not the weight of the node. I was just trying to get something that looks. if anyone's not sure what I was doing, somebody asked me about making a geyser like Carversus did on his channel. So the first part of this process is just to make the particle look like a geyser. Then later I'll focus on the car and its node materials and all that stuff. But this particle here, as we're just seeing it as a preview, has this currently right here has nothing to do with the node particles, the node weights or anything. This is just the actual particle and affecting it, the amount of drag, the amount of gravity, and the amount of injection velocity and its colors and whatnot, and its timings that it's firing. So that's all I'm doing at the moment. Now this is using the default fire as the PNG. So I'll go back to that art shapes, and I'm kind of curious what my particle looked like that I just made. Well, just made, I guess probably 30 minutes ago. That's not it. That's a different one. That's fire. What the hell did I save that? Did I even save it? No, I didn't. I got distracted. That's what it was. I never did even. Alright, so in that art shapes folder, in the user folder, art shapes particles, and this is where you would put your image. So if you want to use the image as your particle, and I don't think that's going to look good, but we'll look. Now keep in mind too, this is, if you want to share these new custom particles, that's an entirely different process. Well, it's not entirely different. It's the same process. You just have additional steps to pack it in the level, or pack it in the vehicle if you want it to go with a vehicle. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. I get tired of having to navigate there. This does not remember. That looks like shit. It looks like a bunch of feathers. Oh, now the blend style is whether or not it's going to use bloom or not. Additive is for your glowing type of things. Not set is basically if you're using a picture that you want to be, and you got pre-multiplied alpha. There's different alphas, and I never use subtractive. But not set would be if you basically just want your image to be what you see. You'd have to also make sure all the colors are set to white if you want it to be what it was as an original image. like a bunch of doo-doo coming out the toilet. What'd that look like? That was supposed to be mud, but I made these a while back and I just haven't used them yet. I don't see how this one would look, since it kind of looks like a bunch of little splatters. do some more. I'm thinking. Now, no, that's not going to look right. It's not going to look right yet. Well, that's not. Yeah, that's not going to work. Not like that. Also, well, oh, wait a minute. Got the water way too high. Alright, one of them's inherited velocity's all whacked out. That's what I mean by inherited. It's getting multiplied. It's going. It's fine like that, but that's just the preview particle. In fact, wherever you look and click on that's where you see the preview particle. I think it's. Well, maybe that ain't it. You gotta be careful, man. Like sometimes your damn particle will look great here, but then when you get it into the actual game, like when it's actually in use, it doesn't look like. It doesn't quite look right. It can be a little deceiving. That's when it starts kind of getting frustrating because you're like, oh man, well, it looks good there, but what do I got to do to make it look good there? Yeah, I'll have to think about it some more. Well, I got some of it done anyway. I got to figure out how to get it to look correct all the time. I'm at to think. I'm probably overthinking something. Yeah, I'll work on it some more. Let me see. Let me think. What if I go a different route using the same particles but using it in a different way, where the particles emitted when the truck does not hit water but actually instead hits a barrier that's using a ground model. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see. So the ground models in the game, ground models, there's different ones for different things. The thing different about this though is this you have to go into you got to go into the Lua folder if you want to modify what particles react to what node type. You got to go into the Lua folder and you got to go into common and get this particles.json. Then you got to go back to the user folder and you got to make a folder called Lua, and inside of there make a folder called common, and inside of there paste the particles.json, and then see inside of here you can see, like, this is something I was just working on, like particle node type steam, particle node material, or ground model, whichever. Whether it's a node material or ground model, either one can go. So like metal for the car, for example. So you can say when metal hits ground model, like we don't have one yet, but like say lava 2. Then it'll create particle number 13. And it'll also create the other particle, number 15, at the same time. And do 2 of each, 1 square meter in size, no additional velocity. If the slip velocity is greater than 1. So we don't have that ground model, so we just have to make it. And that's not too much to do. We just have to have the ground models folder and a JSON file. And in that particular level, small grid, well, we just have to go into the small grid folder if you already saved it. If you've been playing with the particles and you save particle to level, it would have already created this. But you paste it not there. You make a folder called ground models. And you put the folder in there, the file in there. And then you make your new ground model in here. So like these are the ones that already I've already been more or less playing around with, like this mud one here, for example. use mud is. I'll use this one instead. Let me think. I did a different one than that. I did a few of these. That's not what I'm looking for. That's the one I'm looking for. I already spent quite a bit of time working on that particular one. I'll just rename it Lava 2. I have to reload the level now. Just save, close. Go into Blender and make a fake object. That's something that doesn't really exist. Just a box. Make a flat box. Make sure my normals are not inside out. Let's see. Give it a material name that's not already in the game. Apply all transforms. Export as a DAE in the level, but put it in its own folder. That way the game will make the texture. I mean, even though we didn't fool with no textures, that don't matter. It'll have a material assigned to it, and you can edit the material in the editor. You can name it if you want to name it. You don't have to name it anything, but it's better to name stuff because then you have a bunch of unknowns and you don't know they're all the same. It's confusing. And you just import that in from the asset browser. Then you gotta affect the texture and you gotta tell it to be that particular ground model. So then when metal hits that particular ground model,